That was a good game to be at.
It was a good game to be at. I was impartial. I don't particularly like either of those teams, but it was a fun game, which is all I was hoping for. So I just got really bogged down by the Hunter Henry no touchdown. I will swear up and down my life that that was a touchdown. I think they got that one completely wrong, especially since they called it on the field a touchdown. So that irked me, and the people around me were actually pretty cool about it. They said that they agreed that it was a touchdown. So when they came on and said that it was overturned, it was quite shocking, especially for a bunch of the people around us who were all Vikings fans, and even they didn't agree.
Yeah, that was certainly one of the more egregious calls I remember in quite some time when it comes to catches, at least. Obviously, we went through the whole what's a catch, what isn't a catch for quite a while there, but the worst one in a long time.
Yes, so that was a bummer. I, the kind of the two worst things happened. One is the Vikings won, and two, Mac Jones looked good. So it was kind of a double-edged sword for me because I didn't want either of those things to happen. Mac Jones didn't look inept. He took two really bad sacks though at the end, or at least in the fourth quarter. So that prevented any sort of comeback from happening. But he was throwing some dimes. I can't fault the guy. He was looking. He had some pretty good throws. I can't lie. And yeah, Vikings won another one possession game. Good for them.
That'll happen. What's their is their point differential finally positive now?
I don't know. Probably, but
Probably just barely.
yeah, but yeah, I lost my voice. I was cheering every third down. It's the same thing, when I'm gonna go to Lambeau, I'm gonna just have fun and enjoy football, and that includes like cheering for things that don't matter, like a third and one at the 50-yard line. It's like, well, I think they're gonna convert, but I'm still gonna just lose my voice anyways. So had no stake in the game. Neither of those teams were my favorite, but I was still shouting and screaming because I feel like that's just the normal thing you're supposed to do at a football game. So at Lambeau, I will be screaming on third down just like normal,
Be loud, be proud.
doing my thing. So yeah, it was a pretty good Thanksgiving. Nothing weird happened. Nothing unfortunate happened. So that's good. Everything was smooth sailing. Had a lot of good football to watch and good family. So how was your Thanksgiving 1 and 2 and smoke off?
Man, I am beat. It just felt like it was go go go, but it was all really good. So I was also at the Bucks game on Wednesday night down in Milwaukee, so you can add that in on that. And then we also cut our tree down on Sunday. So sandwiched in between all the festivities were also some other extracurriculars. But Thursday was great. Michelle's family was here. All of the food was as delicious as always. I always forget how good her dad's stuffing is. So I was bummed that I ate those leftovers so quick, but it was hard not to. Games were all good on Thursday. It was like the first time in a long time I feel like all of the Thursday Thanksgiving games were actually like highly entertaining throughout. So that was great. Um, and then Friday, my family came up. That was also good. More food. Had some family stay over Friday night. And then, as you just alluded to, Saturday we had our smoke off. So it was fun. I showed up a little afternoon, so I got to see the second half of the Michigan Ohio State game. So that
Great
was
game.
that was so much fun. That was so much fun, and I just loved the scenes of the Michigan players screaming and shouting at the Ohio State fans at the end. Um, and then Sunday I was busy. I didn't really get to watch a ton of football yesterday. We're recording Monday, other than the end of the Tampa Bay Cleveland game, part of the Chiefs Rams game here and there, and then the Green Bay Philadelphia game. Other than that, I just kind of had to see some highlights here and there. So it was a busy weekend. It was good. Thanksgiving weekend's always one of my favorite of the year, just because of it's all usually a lot of my favorite activities all rolled into a 4 day stretch.
Did you talk to Michelle about week 18 yet?
I did. We right now. So did we talk about this? I don't remember if we discussed this. We don't know if the game's Saturday or Sunday yet.
Oh, that's right. Well, it should be Sunday. What's January 8th, isn't it?
It just says to be determined on everything I've checked so far. So I don't know if I've told you this, but we're going to Italy in September next year,
Okay.
and we're having a planning meeting that Friday before the game. So, yes, I have talked to her. Yes, the green light has been lit. I just have to figure out total logistics for the
Man, if
full
it's
weekend.
Saturday, that's gonna be an early morning for me. Saturday morning to get there.
I know.
It's gonna be like a 5
So
a.m.
I,
wake up call.
I kind of want them to announce it now just so I know. I don't
Is
know.
it really
I have
gonna
no
be on a
idea.
Saturday? Week
I don't know if they're
18.
going to. I could see them putting meaningless games on Saturday just to get viewership, putting standalone games on Saturday. I don't know.
Yeah, so it says, well, so there's going to be one Sunday night game. There's going to be a couple 3 o'clock games, but it says there is 2 games that will be flexed to Saturday. Oh, and it says one's a 4:30 and one's an 8:15. So I'm still going to have an early morning regardless Saturday, but if it's like, I mean, even a 3:30 kickoff, I don't have to like run out the door at quite so early. So I had no idea though. That's good kind of planning anecdote to note. Um, then we would have all Sunday to just watch Red Zone.
Does it say when they're going to announce?
So, according to the NFL.com website, in Week 18, 2 games will be played on Saturday, with the remainder of the games playing on Sunday afternoon, and 1 matchup on Sunday night. Specific dates and times, start times, and networks for Week 18 matchups will be determined and announced following the conclusion of Week 17.
Ugh, that's miserable.
So we won't know till New Year's Day. All right. Well, I didn't know that, but that is actually a good thing to know. But I will fully plan on being there Saturday, Sunday, whatever. It's not going to be Sunday night, and it's not going to be Sunday at 4. So it's either going to be, and I really highly doubt they would put such a meaningless game. Because did they do this last year?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
They do occasionally. I've never seen the whole schedule be this up in the air. I've seen like a couple games here and there, or they'll at least pick the date and then the times.
They're kind of like the Catholic Church, where it takes centuries for some things to change within the NFL, and like centuries, I mean decades. But things don't really change too often with those kind of things in football. So the fact that this is the first year that they're doing that is kind of weird. But
looking at the schedule, these are the only games I could see being Sunday night. Pats at Bills, if it's for anything seating related, which it could be. Ravens at Bengals for the division. Actually, it's probably going to be that. I bet that's going to be the game for the division.
And then both AFC or NFC East matchups and maybe AFC East matchups.
Yeah, Jets at Dolphins. I bet it'll be
Broncos,
Ravens Bengals.
Well, one of them. I don't know. I feel like if they do, so like if they put the Ravens Bengals on Sunday night, or maybe that's a bad example. If the Cowboys and Commanders get put on Sunday night, they wouldn't put the Eagles Giants on Saturday. I think they would want to do it all in one day. So I mean, you just never know. You may get the Packers on a Saturday. I bet they'll probably put the Broncos Chargers on there because they just want to embarrass the Broncos a little further.
Yeah, especially because they're on the West Coast. Evening game is better for the West Coast.
Yeah, but regardless, I'll be there. So now it sounds like there's going to be 4 of us. Happy days. So I get Mr. and Mrs. Lighting Jr.
3 for sure.
All right, 3 for sure. But I'm excited. So, yeah, I was trying to think of a non-football thing to talk about this week.
When do you put your Christmas decorations up?
Well, normally it's Black Friday. Since we were out of town, we cheated and did it a week early because we didn't want to come home from the cabin, unpack, unwind, and then like, oh crap, we got to put up all our Christmas decorations. So we did put them up last weekend, but we still have some finishing touches to do. I know you guys just got your tree. If the environmentalists are listening, I apologize. When do you guys put up the rest of your decorations?
Usually around the same time. The tree's usually the first thing up, and it's still not decorated. It's just standing bare because we got home at 4 o'clock yesterday, 4:30. So then it was get the tree up, get it situated, Then Michelle meal prepped while I cleaned, and then by the time we were done eating dinner and everything, it was like 6:30, 6:45, and we didn't really want to decorate the tree and watch the game at the same time. So that'll be a post-recording activity today.
Hooray. My post recording activity is racing. So, yeah, so I usually would try to aim for Black Friday. And then, yeah, I guess what are your, like, in the spirit of Christmas, do you have one or two songs that are bangers in your household for Christmas?
Mm. Oh yeah, Milikaliki Maka.
No.
Yes, absolutely. We took our honeymoon to Hawaii, so it's got special meaning. So
Do you know the
that's
state fish of Hawaii?
yeah, it's I got a sign in this room somewhere. I can usually read it. It's the Huma Huma Numanuka Apua or whatever.
The Hama Hama Nuka Nuka Apua.
Yeah. We have a sign with it on it. I thought it was in this room.
I think we, at one point, I think somebody in our house, or maybe me, had a sticker that you put on your window of your car with that on there. Um, so, okay, I guess I'll get over that. What do you have any more?
I don't know. There's a lot. I'm a big Christmas music fan. I like the classics though. Like I really
Yes.
like Silver Bells, um, White Christmas, like that sort of like Christmas music vibe is my go-to. Michelle is a no Christmas music until December 23rd, which I can
No.
I can res- I, I think this year she maybe said December 1st, so I think it's been moving up. But I am once
What's
December
22
hits
days?
or when we're going to get the tree. Like when we went and got the tree it was on.
That's 22 days difference. If she does this every year, you're going to be listening to Christmas music in June next year.
I know it's going to be wild.
Yeah, I had shared, so when we were at the cabin, there was Christmas music playing, and anytime a Michael Bublé version of a song came up, I had asked for it to be skipped because, I mean, he's got a talented voice and he's a good singer. I hate his renditions of Christmas music though because he changes the beat in a not so pleasant way to a lot of songs. So you're like singing along to Holly Jolly Christmas or something, and you're like singing out loud with your family, and all of a sudden like he takes a 3 second pause in the middle of a freaking line just because he feels like it. And he also changes the lyrics to some of the lines by, just subtle things of, changing just like one or two words within the lyric because he has to be different or something. And I just hate it. So that's a old man yelling at clouds thing. I'm going to be a great 70-year-old one day. I've been training my whole life to be an angry dude that sits on his porch.
Your training is nearly complete.
Is it? I think I got a ways to go. Actually, I think ever since I met Sammy, it's gotten worse. I've gotten more calm and less angry. So
That's how it's supposed to work.
yeah, I guess. But
So I just thought of a number 2 that very few people are probably going to know, and it's more so just because it was played in our household occasionally. Uh, Dominic the Christmas Donkey. It's an Italian Christmas song. I think it might just be
can't
called Dominic the Donkey.
can't say I know that one. Is a Christmas donkey different than a standard donkey? And if so, why?
He's got more cheer.
Okay. So does that make Eagles fans Christmas fans and then Lions fans just normal fans? Because
Correct.
Eagles fans have more cheer than Lions fans.
Correct. Yeah, it's by Lou Monte.
Okay. Well, that's weird. I think I'll have to play that one later. Let's see. You remember when Straight No Chaser did Back Home Again in Indiana?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know they have a Christmas song that's a cappella? That's actually super good. It's 12 Days of Christmas, but they mash it up with a whole bunch of other songs.
Yeah, I think I have heard it. I think I
That
have.
one, that one's really good. They end it with Toto's Africa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I
Yeah.
haven't heard it then.
Yeah, they throw Africa in there, which is not a Christmas song, but they add Christmas lyrics to it, which is kind of funny. So that one's to me a good one. Is it called? What's the song called? Is it called Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire, or what's the name of that song actually called?
No, it's not. Um,
Because isn't the main line "A Very Merry Christmas to You"?
the Christmas song.
That's what it's called.
Yep, the Christmas song. That's another. Yep, that's a good one.
Whoever wrote that came up with all the
Nat King
lyrics and then
Cole.
like, let me guess. I need to make a title. I know. I'm gonna call it the Christmas song.
Actually, it was written by Mel Tormey and Robert Wells.
Interesting. That one's a good one. And then I think my favorite's "Carol to the Bells" or "Carol
Okay.
of the Bells" or whatever you call it. That's probably my that and "12 Days of Christmas" are probably my favorite. Although the Muppets version is the best. "12 Days of Christmas." You got the little. I don't know. I'm not a Muppets guy. I never watched it as a kid, but there's the one character that goes me 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 me, and it's like you have no idea. It's like you just have to fill in the blank.
I did have a Looney Tunes Christmas CD when I was a child, and that was a very enjoyable CD to throw in.
See, I'm not a Looney Tunes guy either. Didn't really grow up with that too much. But who's the suffering succotash? Who's that?
Sylvester
Okay,
the
I
cat.
want just I just want a Christmas album of that dude singing. That's all I would need.
Yeah, Sylvester Pussycat Senior. That's his full name.
Of course it is.
Did you go to okay? One last non-football topic. Did you go to Six Flags Great America much as a kid?
Which one's that one?
The one near Chicago in Gurnee.
I will get a text message 3 minutes after my parents listen to this to confirm yes or no. It sounds like
Okay.
something I would have done as a kid, but I cannot confirm or deny.
So we were only like a half hour from the amusement park growing up, and there's obviously like Disney theme parks, but this was all Looney Tunes themed. So I was always very loyal to Looney Tunes, and they also had a big Scooby Doo, so that must have been Warner Brothers as well.
Yeah, I'm still scarred for Mall of America when they changed Camp Snoopy to Nickelodeon Universe. When's the last time you've been to Mall of America?
I've only been once in October of 2017.
Why do you? Was it a wedding? Why is it so
No,
oddly specific?
or sorry, October 2016. Did I say 17? October 2016. It was my senior year, my final semester of college. Michelle was living in Oshkosh still, and we met in Minneapolis for the weekend, so we just decided to go bop around.
So you definitely did not get to any sort of Camp Snoopiness. It was definitely Nickelodeon. I mean, if it was your first time at the mall, I hope the first thing you did was not go on the rides. It's kind of like a.
No, didn't do any of the amusement park stuff.
Did you like the mall? Do you think it's overrated? It's gotten. I will say it's gotten a lot nicer in the last couple years since their renovations.
Uh, to be honest, we were only there for probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. It was just like a quick, let's check this out and see what it's all about. And then we had to head off to either dinner or a brewery or something. I mean, it was cool. There were some cool stores. There's some cool stuff. That was when I asked Michelle the question. They had, like security dogs roaming around,
Oh
and I asked
boy.
the question, "Do you think these dogs like their job?" And Michelle just thought that was the funniest question on the planet. That I was talking about dogs having jobs.
So I think it's a fair question.
I thought so too.
It's like, does a horse race like running, or a race horse? Does a race horse like running?
Yep.
Which I've been told they do, but I guess at the end of the day, we don't know. Anyways, do football players like playing football? Oh, what is that? What's that Florio thing you wanted to talk about this week?
Oh, I didn't send it to you. I
No, I
I
I
want
didn't.
I want you to read
But
it first. I was
all
thinking
right,
about that
well,
on my drive home actually. That I never sent that to you.
to the people at home who were patiently waiting for that topic to come up this week, I do apologize. I kind of want to go to order this week and talk about our Mouthguard award. I want your rapid reaction to the Washington Commanders tribute to Sean Taylor and the new statue they just came out with him.
See, I'm not up to speed on this. I heard about it, but I haven't been
Okay,
able to
well
do
this
my
no,
due
this actually kind
diligence.
of works in our favor because now we can get your instant reaction to it. I don't want you to like go to Florio's website and look at his anecdotal interpretation of everything. I just want you to like look at a picture without any sort of commentary or anything, and I want you to point out to me the several things that are wrong with it.
Okay. Is it this jersey and pants in a glass case?
That sounds about right. So,
Okay.
what are your initial thoughts about looking at that?
Okay, it's not a statue. Um, it looks like the helmet, jersey, pants display at the Packers Hall of Fame, where they like put it in a 3D or a 360 surround display, and they're just like, "Ooh, look, it's Eddie Lacy's cleats from the 2014 game against the Pittsburgh Steelers at Lambeau, where he rushed for 160 yards."
Yep. What do you notice? Does anything pop out from his? I don't know what angle you're looking at. But does anything pop out from his pants?
Let me see.
I'm looking more for a logo.
I see the Reebok logo. I see
What year
the
did
NF.
Reebok make pants for? they got
Oh my gosh! And it's a Nike jersey.
they got a Nike jersey and a Reebok pants.
I bet. Okay, I bet he did wear Reebok.
Right, but then don't make it a Nike jersey.
What the heck? Because yeah, his last season would have been in '07, and it was still Reebok then. So the jersey is wrong. Reebok's
Yeah,
correct.
so the pants is fine, but then you got to match it up with the jersey. And then lastly, well, and just gonna ignore the fact that yes, it is just a mannequin, right? That is not a statue. That is a mannequin that you find at Macy's.
It's not even a mannequin, dude. It doesn't even have like structure to it. It's just metal rods.
Well, yeah, but so what do you notice about his cleats?
Adidas,
Do those
black.
look like
Sorry,
football
I'm
cleats?
I'm bouncing around from different angles here. Let me get a closer up on the cleats. They look like kickers' cleats.
They look like soccer cleats.
Oh yeah,
Those are
from the back they're definitely soccer cleats.
they put in at little to no effort in a quote unquote statue unveiling, which wasn't even a statue. This is something that a marketing intern that just graduated from Southwest Northeastern was tasked to do and threw it together in 15 minutes and failed. And it is the Commanders franchise in a microcosm.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Time out. You got to step back on the soccer cleats thing. That's what he wore.
Really?
Yep. Jackie Taylor, Sean Taylor's daughter, said they put everything that he wore, soccer cleats, like the little things that defined him, that were special to him, and that he did as a player. So that was really special.
I'm not saying she's wrong. I just need to Google that.
That was his daughter.
That's why I said I'm not saying she's wrong. I just need to.
Yeah. Taylor wore soccer cleats during some of his football games by choice, but often he sported the Nike Total 90 style, according to Yahoo.
So, what I heard you say there was that he didn't always wear soccer cleats.
Probably because he got fined when he did.
Yeah, I didn't even think you could legally do that, but whatever. Different era. All right.
But
Anyways,
everything
that
else,
does not
what the
detract
hell?
from the fact that that was a piss poor attempt to pay tribute to one of the best safeties of all time that was taken far too soon from the world. So, typical Commanders.
What are your thoughts on statues in general?
What are my thoughts on statues in general? If done correctly, they are pretty cool, but they should be reserved for people like Sean Taylor, Vince Lombardi, you know, one day Mike Ditka, if there isn't one already. How about in our new home? We get a bunch of nice little Chicago Bears statues that the Bears can fund themselves and not ask the city to do.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be nice. So yeah, I think the worst statue I've ever seen was there was a Cristiano Ronaldo one that came out a couple years ago, and his face is just so distorted. It looked like something out of a Monet painting. So felt bad for him, but he enjoyed it, so I guess it's all good.
Gotcha.
But do you not like statues or something? Do you have a vendetta against him?
I don't know. I think they're a little weird, but I get them. I get it. I understand it.
You're telling me EAA came to you one day and said we want a statue to commemorate you and all the work you've done for us, that you would say no?
I feel like they're like usually once someone has gone west that statues are erected. Like if someone came to me and was like, "Hey, we want to
Do
build
you
a
mean south?
statue." No, gone west. It's an aviation term.
Oh, okay. So
I don't know. I wouldn't say no. I'd be like, okay,
you'd be taken aback, but you would say yes.
yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day. One day they will have a statue of you, and if not, I'll make it happen. Oh, and I was trying to figure out. So there's this. I kind of want to build our own version of the duck race, so that we can play it here. And I think for our first rendition, we are going to use like mini football helmets, like the
Mhm.
little, like these size
Mhm.
ones, for our tokens.
I love it.
Or I was thinking, we have to have multiple versions. I like the ducks. I like the mini football helmets. I want kind of large scale Monopoly tokens. I feel like it would be kind of lit to be like, I'm betting on the thimble.
Just a giant thimble.
Yeah, just a giant, like, I don't know, the size of, I don't know, a little mini figurine of a thimble. I think that'd
Since
be
we're in the
kind of
since
fun.
we're in the Christmas spirit, I think I've told you we do nativity scene races at our family Christmas sometimes. And by
Is that
we, I
allowed?
mean I mean the cousins.
I'm sure it's all religiously appropriate and not insensitive.
My aunt makes us donate 10% of the winnings back to the church.
That's gambling money. Come on, that's a sin.
And if we swear, she takes $1 from our winnings.
Oh my gosh. I've been texting Jay and Jill a little bit this week, and I know we say this every year. I'm just ready for it, America. You don't got any weddings this year. Well, I guess you don't got any weddings this year, do you?
Not during that weekend.
We were actually sitting down doing the math. We may only have one wedding in total next year. We had like 6 2 years ago, 7 this year. Kind of a little bit of the COVID catch up for some of the weddings. I think this next year we only have like one. You have to like really savor it.
Yeah.
Usually, when you got like 3 weddings in 5 weeks, it's kind of sometimes just a little bit of a, oh no, we have to do this again in 2 weeks kind of thing, and it's a different group of people. And then like next year we might just have the one.
They all start running together.
They do, and it's like I'm the youngest. I'm on the younger side of the family, so most everybody has been either married or chosen their path at this point. So yeah, we just have one. I think the one friend getting married next year. So, anyways, football podcast. So the Thanksgiving games. I mean, Dallas won. Giants made it a game, but Dallas looked in control there. So I guess good for them. The I predicted the Bills would lose to the Lions. It wasn't far off, and you said on the podcast, "quote I could see it." So we weren't entirely way off base, but Detroit just couldn't do it at the end. So
I was getting excited for the possibility of the Bills losing on national television against the Lions. I don't know why. It sounded like a fun thing to happen. I have no vendetta against the Bills whatsoever, but I
I
always
don't
like a good
know. They
upset.
they have choke written all over them in the playoffs. Not gonna lie, they make me a little nervous. I'm not so high on them as I was a couple weeks ago. And then meanwhile, like the Dolphins can't do any wrong right now. I know it was the Texans. They were up 30-0 at one point, and then they took everybody out in the third quarter, and the Texans started to come back. But Dolphins can do no wrong right now, man. Tua, as much as I don't like the guy, as much as I don't like the fact that he has two of the best receivers on his team, I mean, he's doing pretty good. Doing pretty good for himself.
That'll be a fun division down the stretch.
Yeah. And I think you got, Buffalo has, I don't even know if we call them advantages anymore. So, like, you play a playoff game in Buffalo. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. But certain teams can handle it just fine. We talk about 49. I'm not trying to poke fun, but you talk about 49ers Packers last year. It's like the 49ers are totally a cold weather team that just happened to play in San Francisco. The Titans are a cold weather team that just happened to play in Nashville. There's certain teams that are just designed to play in any condition against any team. And you talk about Miami, they don't really have any. This is just going to be an even up game because, I imagine Miami in January is going to be, 75, 80 degrees, their boots.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that's going to come in, and I don't even know who, well, I guess we have a game tonight. We're recording before the Steelers Colts game tonight, so we have no idea what's going to happen with that game. But I imagine right now, who would Miami be matched up against? Probably one of their division opponents, or the Ravens,
Or the Bengals.
or the Bengals. So either AFC East or division opponent at this point, because it's not going to be anybody from the AFC South, barring the Colts or Jaguars doing anything funny. And it's looking like a long shot for maybe the Chargers, but not the Raiders, not the Broncos.
Yeah, it would be. I think it's the Bengals.
Yeah. So, and the Bengals they're on the same trajectory as last year. They are getting hot at the right time. So, they beat the Titans 20-16. Nothing super crazy to report from that game, but the Bengals defense, I think, is actually, we like to talk about Joe Burrow, T. Higgins. They're pretty good. Jamar Chase was out again this week, but he was rumored to come back, but ultimately did not play. But the Bengals defense is also picking up steam at the right time. So this team just seems to get better as the season. Kind of reminds me of the Packers the last couple of years, where they start out a little slow and then they're just on it for the rest of the year. So I would not want to play the Bengals right now if I was anybody.
Similar to the Rams a little bit last year, and kind of why I think I keep talking about the 49ers being a scary team is I just feel like once a team like the Niners or the Bengals go on a run and get hot, like you said, it's just they're scary. No one wants to play them. The don't look now team.
Yeah, because the teams that have been really hot lately are the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Bengals, the Eagles, San Francisco. Those are the teams that seem like they can kind of, and I know like there's one-offs in there, the Eagles losing to the Commanders, and I guess that's kind of about it. But those are the teams right now that I would want to avoid 100%.
Yeah,
And come
absolutely.
playoffs, and it's the same thing you said last week. It's really going to come down to who's hot once we get to the playoffs, and those are the teams that are hot right now. So the Bears lost to the Jets by 21 points. It's crazy to me that Mike White starts as quarterback over Joe Flacco. And then Zach Wilson was, I think, a healthy scratch because I don't think he had his pads on. He was in civilian uniform on the sideline. And, wow, the Jets had a competent passing offense. I know the Bears defense is awful, right? But they looked competent. And that might be scary if they can have a quarterback that can throw and move the ball, that might be scary for everybody else.
But do you really think it's Mike White?
No, I just think it's not Zach Wilson.
There is no way they can bring Zach Wilson back at this point, right? Unless it's injury related.
They're in the unfortunate position of if you draft a player in the first round, you're kind of stuck with them for 4 years unless you could just do what the Raiders did, cut Alex Leatherwood, eat the dead cap. But there's a lot of dead cap that goes with cutting a first-round pick. So, they could just to get him off the books and get him out of the building.
Trade him?
There wouldn't be yeah, you could, but then you'd probably have to eat the cap anyways unless you can work it out with the other. If you trade him for like a fifth and say like eat the cap, I guess that's what the Rams did with the Lions.
And that's what the Cardinals did with the Dolphins.
Yeah, so you could. I don't know who'd be buying at this point unless you're you know, Cleveland and Deshaun Watson goes down with his ACL injury or something, you're like, oh crap, we need a quarterback. You could try it, but yeah, I mean, that's the financial side of things. Me personally, I would get him out of the building ASAP. Just that, you're not gonna play him. You don't need him. If he's a distraction, if he's not bought into everything, if he's gonna mope and whine that he's not playing anymore, yeah, just send him on his way. That'd be go down as one of the worst picks in NFL history. But
Him and
if
Josh
there's
Rosen.
Josh Rosen, Ryan Leaf, Kevin White,
I have a feeling he probably wants out of that building more than the team wants him out of that building at this point. If he has any self-awareness, at least.
yeah, he's set for life. He got his 30 million or whatever, so he doesn't have to worry about money ever again. So yeah, now
Nope.
at this point, you just got to get back on the field. So yeah, but interesting. So the Bears had their own little QB drama. So shocked to learn that Justin Fields got hurt. Probably has nothing to do with all the late hits he's been getting, but neither here nor there. So he had a couple joint issues with his shoulder, and Trevor Simeon was slated to start, but then he hurt his abdomen or oblique or something in warmups. So then it was going to be Nathan Peterman, which I forgot that Nathan Peterman was on our practice squad. It's one of those things that I love to forget because I don't like thinking about Nathan Peterman being on my football team. It's one of the worst starting quarterbacks I've ever seen in football. And Simeon did get to go. We had 2 good drives with 2 good throws, and that was about it. So Claypool got a little bit involved. That was kind of fun. He had a catch over the defensive pass interference machine, Sauce Gardner, who, in my imagination, commits defensive pass interference on just about every play that he's matched up on somebody, but never gets called on. Not entirely sure how that works, especially since it's usually the defenders that get called, not the offenders, but he seems to get away with it a lot. So, but yeah, we are slated for the number 2 pick right now. Pretty excited about that. Hopefully we can keep that momentum going.
Do you think they would keep the number 2 pick, or do you think they would trade up, or trade back, I should say, for
I
extra
would
picks?
trade. I would trade one. I would sincerely hope that there would be a team at like 4 or 5 that would need a quarterback that would trade up for us because we do not need C.J. Stroud on our team. I would also be fine picking Will Anderson at number 2 as well. So
Because someone's going to need a quarterback, right? I mean, the
yeah,
Texans.
the Texans should get first. They should be taking Bryce Young. And then from there, the teams that don't really have an identifiable franchise quarterback. You got the Raiders, who I don't know what they're going to do with Carr. You have the Seahawks, who are going to be in the position of evaluating Geno Smith and seeing if they need to pay him or not because he's on the last year of his deal. You have the Panthers, who the hell knows what's going on there. You have the Commanders. Do you stick with Heineke or do you try to take a different route?
Saints.
You have the Saints. I was making a graphic today, so I had to look at some of the contracts. It looks like Jameis is under contract for like 3 more years with some
Oh my gosh.
hefty dead cap, which is kind of sad. So the Saints, you have the Colts, no idea what's happening there. You have the Lions. Jared Goff, I think his is Jared Goff's last huge dead money year. So he's got $40 million this year of dead money, and then next year it's 10. So do you move on from Goff? Do you keep him? Where are you at with that?
Hell, Tampa Bay might be in the market.
Yeah, you have retiring quarterbacks, so maybe Tampa. You have the Giants. Do you re-sign Daniel Jones to huge money, or do you move on?
There cannot be 2 teams more upset with having such hot starts than the Seahawks and the Giants because now they're both going to be stuck in no man's land.
I mean, I genuinely feel like if you go to the negotiating table with Geno Smith, you can say, listen, you did great for us this year. However, we need to kind of have that prolonged success before we commit our future to you. So let's say 2 years, $30 million. I think $15 million for a quality starting quarterback is a pretty good get. So I think they have some power in that just because this is the only year that Geno Smith has kind of done anything relevant.
Yep.
Hell, you got the Jets. Maybe they need a quarterback now too. You don't know. So yeah, I think there's definitely some intrigue if the Bears are high in the draft and obviously not needing a quarterback anymore. I think my preference at this point would be to get the second best player in the draft. And in my opinion, that's Will Anderson. So I would really, if we had a chance to get him at the second, I would just take it, especially with the amount of salary cap we have. We can also do some rebuilding in free agency too. So I don't know if we need to stockpile picks, but
Yep.
yeah, that's where I'm at with that. So yeah, we got the number 2 pick. Pretty, pretty okay. I mean, we were up like 10-7. I'm like, yay, but also, well, God.
Tank.
So
Tank. Tank.
yeah, our defense looks just pathetic though, and we have the Packers next week, which we'll touch on here in a second. Yeah, what else happened? Did you see that Russell Wilson was getting chewed out by his defender with like 4 minutes to go in the game?
I did see that today. I did see that today.
Funny, sad. Where are you at with that?
I thought it was hilarious. The parts that stuck out to me the most were Russ just looked very nonchalant about it, and then Hackett just staring off into oblivion in front of him, like, not my problem.
Yep. He's like, I'm just gonna pretend I didn't hear any of this, and yeah, I want to say that Russell Wilson said, "Let's ride," back to him.
And I'm sure in some corny universe, Russ is thinking to himself, man, this is exactly what I love. He's like, this is the type of team I need around me.
Yeah, that's probably what he said in his press conference afterwards. The Jaguars beat the Ravens by 1, and Trevor Lawrence had his best game of his career by far. Starting to look the part. I mean, they've lost so many games by one possession this year. It's kind of crazy. The Jags season could be completely different if you change a play here and there in the past. So, but they beat the Ravens, and that was an intriguing one for me.
I think this game said a couple of things. Number one, I think year 3 for Trevor Lawrence will be the year that we finally see what he may or may not become. So I'm excited to see what he does in year 3, especially if he finishes this year strong. And number 2, if you're the Ravens, no lead is safe. It's just bizarre because you think from like a Harbaugh-led team, they'd be a little bit more stout late in games. I don't know, just from like a mentality standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, that was quite shocking. But so I don't know. I mean, you got the Bengals on one hand are hot. You have the Ravens have a couple of sus losses on their schedule this year so far. So I'm not super high on the Ravens if I'm being honest at this point in time. Raiders won in overtime in Seattle. Josh Jacobs had 300 all-purpose yards, just balling out, and he's on his contract here, which I think is hilarious because now the Raiders are going to do something stupid and give him like $14 million a year for like 3-4 years, and he's probably just going to be injured for the next 3 years.
When they could just as easily pick up his 5th-year option.
I think aren't we past that though? Like I think the
Yeah.
to exercise those
It was
is
last
before
off
the
season.
season.
Yep.
Yeah. So now they're. I mean, if I was him, and you're talking about a guy who was potentially getting benched in preseason from that standpoint to now he's balling out, I would maybe look elsewhere if I were him.
I don't think he'll be back.
No, it just that situation. If I was in that situation, I wouldn't get the warm and fuzzies there. Let's see. 49ers shut out the Saints. Don't care. Commanders beat the Falcons by 6. Don't care. Kansas City beat just decimated Rams 26-10. Not
It
really.
should have been a
caring.
lot more than that too.
Should have been. Yeah. See, the Chiefs are the most complete team in the AFC, but also I don't know. Playoffs are gonna be fun because we don't really know what to expect. It's gonna be kind of just one of those days. It's just gonna happen. All right. Packers, Eagles. Packers in Philadelphia lost by 7. Anybody who took the over, God bless. Final score 40-33. Notable things that happened in the game. Packers were down 14-0, made it 14-13. Packers run defense was awful. Packers kept up offensively, but Rodgers hurt his oblique and had to sit out the rest of the game. In comes Jordan Love, and he goes, was it like 7-11, 106, 130 yards or something and a touchdown?
6 for 9, 116, and 1 tud.
60-something of those yards on one pass to Christian Watson, who caught it 15 yards down the field and did the rest. All right, well, I guess we're just going to start with the obvious topic. What did you make of the Eagles' black helmets?
I love the black on black. I think it's one of the slickest things in the NFL when it comes to uniforms. So sharp, especially against the white and yellow of the Packers. The contrasting colors, even for my colorblind ass, was beautiful.
I forgot to mention that the other week. I think the Packers' white jersey on yellow pants is one of the worst uniform combinations in the NFL.
I love their white jerseys.
I love the white jerseys. I think the yellow pants are atrocious. I like the green jersey and the yellow pants. That's not so bad. I mean, the two best looks on the Packers is the throwbacks they wore against the Jets when they lost. I think that is a phenomenal combo. And then the combination they wore against the Titans, the white on white.
I do love the white on white. I do love it. It's just clean.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said. I've been meaning to talk about this too in the college side with some teams like Penn State, USC, Notre Dame. I think they're in some serious need of a little bit of a refresh with their uniforms. Alabama.
See, I love the classics. I love the classics.
I do too, but like there's some uniforms that are classic that have held up over time. I'm thinking, like LSU,
Michigan.
Well, and even like Michigan, like that's a perfect example. It's like Michigan had something and they've tweaked it just a tad bit, but they changed their helmets to matte, and then they started with blue on blue at home with the Jordan apparel line, and I think that's one of the cleanest looks in football. Previously, they were wearing blue on maize. It's just like, whoa. But the blue on blue is fresh to death. Ohio State, I think, has tweaked it a little bit over the years. I think it looks really good. I'm trying to think of like more like Miami got it wrong. They had the best uniforms in the early 2000s when they had the U.
What about Texas?
Texas, I love Texas. Never change it. Oklahoma, I love Oklahoma. Don't change it. I'm trying to think, like even like Nebraska's isn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Iowa always kind of looks pretty sharp. Gophers have changed a bunch in the last couple of years. But yeah, I think like USC's look okay. I don't like their jerseys. Their font's a little weird, and their jerseys could be freshened up. Penn State, I don't understand why teams don't put their last names on the back of the jerseys anymore. I think it's very archaic to not do that.
Because you play for the name on the front of the jersey, Matt, not the name on the back.
Calm down, Herb Brooks.
We weren't allowed to get names on our jerseys in high school for that reason.
I thought, wasn't that because you didn't sell like enough mattresses or something that you didn't get those?
No, that had to do with away trips, travel trips.
Oh, because I think it's funny thinking back to high school where it's like one year you had to sell like 30 candy bars to get your name on a jersey, and then the next year it was like 2 mattresses or something.
No, we never had that. We had to sell little discount cards, and that was just so we could afford the buses to away games.
See, but that was a good idea though, because everybody loves the discount card. We're gonna oversaturate the suburban Minneapolis market with mattresses, which is something we did one year, which is so dumb. It's either like do the mattresses or just pay $200, and I think most people just paid $200. Yeah. Anyways, Packers need a refresh on their uniform combos. They have good combinations. They just need to use them more often, in my opinion. Notwithstanding, Jordan Love is going to get a lot of talking points this week. I'll go first. He was okay. Like I personally didn't think he was the greatest thing I've ever seen. So like he was confident in who he was throwing to. I think his ball placement on a couple throws was pretty poor. There's some of us like one of them was in the end zone. And it's like, oh, he probably saw Darius Slay, so he threw it to the end zone. I'm like, no, I just think he missed him in stride. Or there was a couple others where he should have been putting on the front shoulder and he was putting on the back shoulder. The Aaron Jones one was a perfect throw. That was just a bad drop by Jones. But like he was fine. I mean, he was also going against a prevent defense. So like, what can we actually discernibly extract from someone who's cleaning up in garbage time?
Okay, two things. I'm not here to pump up Jordan Love because I do think he did miss on a couple of throws, but there was a couple that I thought looked really nice. And I think for a lot of people, it was refreshing to see him just play like within the offense. And I'm not saying that's the right answer, but that's been the gripe with Rodgers in the LaFleur era is that he doesn't like to play within the structure of the offense. And clearly Jordan Love is going to do that because he doesn't like why would he not? He has no preconceived offense that he used to play within to change that. Um, but the one thing I will really push back on is the whole prevent defense. And the only reason I say that is if you go back and you actually look at some of the film, like the ball placement to Aaron Jones that you just said yourself was perfect, was not a prevent defense. It was essentially a cover two defense. So I'm not sitting here saying that I thought he was the best thing since sliced bread either. Was it encouraging? Yeah, of course it was encouraging. He looked good. But it was 9 passes. The sample size is that of 2 drives in the preseason. So I'm not going to sit here and fawn over it for the rest of the week and say that he's the god, he's the answer moving forward. But do I feel better about Jordan Love today than I did yesterday? Absolutely.
So not we should have traded him for a fourth round pick before the season and got rid of him while we could kind of mentality.
No.
Well, there's that.
Do I think he's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler, all pro quarterback? Jury's out. I have no idea because I've seen plenty of other quarterbacks look good for one half or one quarter of football who you could look at and say, yep, they're going to be a fantastic backup or middle of the road quarterback. So sample size is too small. But was it encouraging? Yes, of course it was encouraging. Do I hope Rodgers can't play this week? Yes, because I would love nothing more than Jordan Love and Justin Fields to play against each other and Jordan Love to come out on top. Just for pure comical reasons. But knowing Aaron Rodgers, he's going to do everything under the sun to play this week and somehow try to go scorched earth on a shitty Bears defense just because that's his personal Super Bowl is beating the Bears every season.
Yeah, there's no way Frito-Lay is missing that game.
No.
Because, the chip is just that big. That's why I call him Frito-Lay. Can I quiz myself?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think the Bears have had something like 37 starting quarterbacks since I don't know when. And when you're just talking about, this player looks really good for a half. I've had so many of those with Bears quarterbacks over the years. Like I thought Matt Barkley was the answer one year. I thought Brian Hoyer was the answer one year. I thought, what was the guy? Who was the old Commander starting quarterback? Campbell. Jason Campbell?
Yep.
He had like one good half for us. There's been so many of those from the Bears where it's like, that guy's the guy, and then it's just like the next game, they're just awful. So, starting quarterbacks for the Packers since 2006, we have Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Flynn,
Scott
no,
Tolzien.
no. This is my quiz.
Oh, sorry.
Scott Tolzien, Deshaun Kaiser, Brett Hundley, Jordan Love. Did I miss any?
I think we're missing one.
What's his face? The guy that got picked up by the Vikings. He never started a game, did he?
I'm trying to think who you're thinking of.
He was the backup for like the last, backup. He's like, no. When was he the quarterback? He was like the third stringer for a couple of years. But he's really recent. But either way, that was like what, 6 guys in 16 years?
Yeah, I feel like there might have been one more, but maybe I'm way off base here.
When did Tolzien start?
Oh, Seneca Wallace. That was the other one.
God bless it.
It was the year that the Bears broke Rogers' collarbone.
We did?
Yes, on Sunday Night Football at Lambeau. The year that we then beat you in the last game of the season to win the division, the Randall Cobb game.
I must have been asleep. Well, yeah, it was Mark Trestman's first year, so I tried to block that out of the memory.
Oh, you know what? I don't know if Seneca Wallace started or not. He must not have, unless he got hurt.
Anyways, you guys are doing just fine in the quarterback department. I don't know. I was looking at the contracts today for the defensive side of the Packers. There's some questions coming up. Well, even if Jordan Love does happen to be like
I'm gonna give
God's
you a
gift,
I'm gonna give you a mouth guard soon enough for talking about contracts so much in the middle of the season. Let's just enjoy the season, damn it.
you're 4-8. You don't get to enjoy the rest of your season. You're about
Yes,
to be
I
5-8,
do.
but that's
Yes,
fine.
I do.
Sorry, you gotta look ahead to the future if you're not in contention. And you got Adrian Amos. You got to figure out what to do with.
Yeah, he's probably gonna be gone.
Even if you have Jordan Love ball out, like let's say they shut down Rodgers when you guys go 5-9. You're stuck. I mean, you're stuck with Rodgers no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even he could retire, but then you got to eat that money anyways, or for at least a year. So it's almost like I guarantee he probably asked it to be worked that way just so he could get one last shred of relevance out of the whole thing, make him more about himself.
Or to make more money, you cynical, sad Bears fan.
Hey, I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy the $130 million in cap space we have coming next year in peace. And we don't have anybody to cut because I'm not sure we can cut anybody. There's only like 3 big contracts in the whole roster.
All right. Just because I did this last time to shame you on how I disagreed with your take on the draft, I just went back 4 seasons.
Okay. We're doing this again?
Which 3 teams do you think had the most cap space after the 2018 season?
Browns, Jaguars, Texans.
You're not too far off. Browns, Jets, Colts. The one team who actually took advantage of their cap space were the Buccaneers. They were the team with the 4th most.
Well, you say that. The Jets are in a good spot, not only this year, but going forward.
But it wasn't because of all this cap space. The Jets are good now because they've drafted well the last 2 years.
C.J. Mosley, D.J. Reed.
And and guess who had negative cap space that year?
The Saints and the 49ers.
No, the Chiefs, Dolphins, and Eagles. 3 of the best teams in the NFL right now. So
Well, you say that, though. The Eagles are actually have one of the lowest payrolls in football this year, which is kind of remarkable.
I know. I'm just saying, year-to-year cap numbers rarely, I think, have long-lasting impacts.
Yeah, but I'd still rather be the team going into the offseason with $130 million than the Saints, who are minus $56 million next year.
You also have an entire roster to fill, as do the Saints. So I actually, in your case, I would much rather be in the Bears position than the Saints because you also have a franchise quarterback, or what appears to be a franchise quarterback, and the Saints have Andy Dalton, ? Jameis Winston, ? Taysom Hill, ?
Yeah, but the good for the Packers is that Christian Watson looks as advertised, and the cons is that Matt LaFleur still doesn't think that Joe Barry's the problem.
I hope that's just public speak. I really do. Hey, we didn't talk about the Tampa Bay Cleveland game, did we?
Not really. You mentioned that you saw the end of it.
So we can all admit that Tampa should have won that game, right?
Define should have. Like, was there a call that you disagreed with, or are you just saying that they got...
It was 4th and 2 in the 4th quarter at the Cleveland 37, and they netted 20 yards on a punt. Again, I only caught the end of this game, so that was one of the only things of note that I took away. But I have this sick fantasy where Todd Bowles gets fired because he's just an absolutely terrible head coach, but he's a phenomenal defensive coordinator. And I would go head over heels if the Packers would sign him as a defensive coordinator. But again, that hinges upon him getting fired.
You know what was great about Dick LeBeau, other than his first name? He just knew he was a good defensive coordinator and then just stuck around and was a defensive coordinator forever. Like, I think he tried the head coaching thing like once. Didn't work out. You know, like Vic Fangio? Vic Fangio would be the best defense coordinator of all time if he just stuck at being a defensive coordinator. The only reason there's two reasons why coordinators move up, right? One's money. You get paid a lot more if you're a head coach than if you're a coordinator. Two is power. You have a lot more say so, and you get to be the guy calling the shots, and I get to cut you and this, that, and next thing if you're the head coach. But if you're like good at something, and we talked about this in my last job, whereas, you know, like if you're just the knockout kind of like rep or, you know, analyst or whoever, kind of like the mid-level person, and there's a managerial opening and you get like plucked out of your job to be the manager, and you suck at managing people, it's like ultimately it's not good for the company and it hurts kind of the whole process in general. If you're a really good coordinator and phenomenal at it, why would you sometimes entertain the thought? I mean, you know, like obviously there's cases where they do end up being really good coaches, but you're talking like Vic Fangio shouldn't have left.
Yeah,
Todd Bowles should never have left.
I think it's easy to
Well,
play.
I don't even know where Joe Barry came from.
He was just a shitty defensive coordinator before being a shitty defensive coordinator.
For whom?
The Ram. Sorry, he wasn't the lead D coordinator. The Lions, I think.
Oh, you mean the guy from the Lions didn't end up being a good coach?
Let me see. I thought it was the Lions. Let me go back and look.
That's wild.
He's never had a defense outside the top like 25 in his life.
Well, his picture is him. His picture on Wikipedia is of him at USC, which makes me a little nervous.
Okay, yep, he was the 07 to 08 Lions D coordinator, and then he was also the D coordinator for the Redskins from 15 to 16, and then he was the Rams assistant head coach and linebackers coach in 17 and 20.
So I count 3 times that he's been defensive coordinator.
And how many of those do you think went swimmingly?
Was he on the? He's probably on the same Redskins staff that. Yeah, because he probably followed McVay to L.A.
Yeah.
So he's probably on the same Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur,
Yep.
all world coaching staff there.
Yeah.
Under Jay Gruden.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I don't know why he's still employed.
I was thinking back to the beginning of the season when we were talking about like the concerns with the Packers, and I remember saying I think the offense will get it together, but the defense is what scares me. And for better or for worse, I think I was right. Actually I wasn't right because the offense never figured it out. But for worse, the defense also has not figured it out, and we'll likely have a different defensive coordinator at 1265 Lombardi Avenue next year. Can we also get Chris Collinsworth a mouth guard? Can I make him my mouth guard guy for the week?
Sure, you got all the power.
The amount of times he said, and I quote, "You got to give Joe Barry credit for this adjustment," or "Give Joe Barry credit for the defense they've been playing against." Like, come on, dude. They gave up 360 yards rushing.
So no credit?
No credit. No. No credit to Joe Barry.
You're talking about Chris Collinsworth. Now, here's a guy that sorry, I just really wanted to say Chris Collinsworth, and now here's a guy in the same sentence because I've never had a chance to do that. It just tickled me on the inside. All right, I got to move on from the Packers. So, did you see the story about? We got a couple more topics before we wrap up the show. Did you see the story about Odell Beckham Jr. being kicked off a flight from Miami?
Yeah, I heard he like put a blanket over his head and fell asleep and wouldn't wake up or something.
That's what his lawyer or agent, one of the two, was saying in a statement, saying that it is normal for people on trans-American flights to put a towel or something over his head so that they can sleep. I've personally have never seen that on an airplane. I'm not saying that maybe OBJ doesn't do that. It's a weird one. And yeah, there's probably some overzealous flight attendants out there. But so basically, OBJ put a towel over his head and was unresponsive because he was probably listening to music or something with the towel over his head or just sleeping. and the flight attendants were trying to get his attention to no avail, so they kicked him off the plane because he was a non-compliant passenger or something, which I just reeks of incompetence, both from the airlines and I maybe just like a blindfold or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just feel like a towel over. I've never seen someone just like have a towel over their head sleeping on a flight, like a towel or a blanket or something. Never seen that, so that's a new one for me. I've definitely seen blindfolds before, but never that. But he was on his way to L.A. for what it's worth. I think he lives in L.A., but still think he's going to be a Cowboy here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, because Jerry don't care. Jerry will sign that check.
Yeah, don't care. Jerry Jones, he was in hot water this week. Well, I forgot to make a note of that. Did you see that he was photographed at being at the Little Rock 9 desegregation movement and in the schools in Arkansas?
Wasn't that at his school though?
Yeah, but he is kind of in line with the people that were the white kids that were standing up to the Little Rock 9, and he's definitely in the background. Like he's not in the front lines shouting or anything, but he's definitely there, and he caught some hot water for it. I mean, me personally, I was really shocked to learn that the guy that was from Arkansas, was born in the 1940s, may have been on that side of the aisle when it came to a situation like that. I mean, I'm shocked that the guy from the South, born in the 40s, would do that. That's crazy to me.
Do I disagree with it? Absolutely. 110%. I don't know. The guy was in high school, 70 years ago at this point? 60 years ago? Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to be like, Jerry Jones is still that guy.
Well, I mean, wasn't he the guy who said he was going to like kick people off his team for kneeling? Like,
hey, don't get me wrong. I don't think Jerry Jones is a good guy, but
the fact that people are surprised by it just shocks me. Is what I'm trying to say. Like, people are like, "Oh my God, Jerry Jones is a racist." Like, yeah, have you been alive for the last 15 years? Like, this is the least shocking thing I've read on the internet all day. So, anyways, brought up the Cowboys. I kind of forgot about that.
I said I also love that one of the kids in the front has a cigarette in his mouth.
Yeah, Arkansas. The Detroit halftime show. So it was Baby Rexha was the musical talent. Do you see that she was off in the corner there? They didn't bring out a stage for her in the center, or not even like the Vikings. They brought on a stage. It was Florida Georgia Line. One of the guys from Florida Georgia Line who I stood 3 feet from at Iowa when he was guests of Jimmy Johnson. And so I was really close to him. Didn't know who he was until afterwards though. But don't particularly like Florida Georgia Line. Don't really care for a whole lot of their songs. And they had a stage for him in the end zone, but Baby Rexha was kicked to the corner in Ford Field, and she actually has it was a pretty good show. But man, is that the new norm? Is to not have a stage for the poor musical talent there?
I mean, it probably makes life a lot easier on the stadium employees.
Probably, yeah. That's probably just it. They probably had a labor shortage because who wants to work for the Lions?
Yeah.
The ever-ending saga might be over this week finally. Deshaun Watson is back at Houston. Excited, don't care. What are your thoughts?
Don't care. Kind of like you said about Jerry Jones being a racist. I agree. That's why I didn't care about that picture. Colored me shocked. Feel the same way about Deshaun Watson. Don't really care for the guy as a human being whatsoever. And by that I mean don't like the guy as a human being, so could care less what he does on the football field.
I hope the Texans win just because I think Deshaun Watson has had enough happy endings for the last 2 years.
How long have you been holding that one in? He's a terrible person. Just flat out a bad human. And it's really disappointing that he's getting paid this much money to get a second chance when I don't think his first issues have even been resolved or punishment has met said crime, so to speak.
I think if our households pool together their money, we may catch up to what he'll make on Sunday in 3 years.
if we're lucky.
maybe 5. But yeah, so that's great. That makes me sleep really warm and fuzzy at night. Last thing I wanted to get to, there was as you touched on last week, you were talking about your smoke off. A lot of cool college football this weekend. Me personally, I got a lot of satisfaction out of watching Michigan beat Ohio State. 9 times out of 10 in those games, barring an unforeseen circumstance or a major player that I don't like, I'll be rooting for Michigan. So that was really satisfying to watch Ohio State's defense suck and Ryan Day coach like a coward. And so Michigan won by, 3 scores or something. It's like 45-23 or 48-23 or something. That's at the end of the day. So that was really fun. That was cool. Clemson lost to South Carolina. That's hilarious. Clemson really threw that away. DJ Ugalele.
9 for 22 or something.
8 for 29.
Ugh.
And
it's a Zach Wilson stat line.
They have the best recruit quarterback from last year in Caleb Klubnik on the bench. And that guy is the next dude, I think. I think he'll be, we got a lot of these guys graduating the next year or two. He'll be the guy, I think, his sophomore and junior year for sure. USC beat Notre Dame. That was pretty cool. And as I referenced last week, I really hope this isn't the one game that Texas A&M decides to just wake up from their shitty season. And lo and behold, they could just do no wrong. Their offense could not be stopped. I think it was a little bit of a LSU went in there a little complacent. Game meant nothing to them. They had already clinched the SEC West. A&M, they're not bowl eligible. That was like their Super Bowl for the year. And they just kicked our teeth in. So now we're limping into Atlanta to play the Dogs, and we're going to get smoked. I think the spread's at 18.5, and I would absolutely take the over on that one. So it's going to be a tough game, but I'm just happy we're there, to be honest. It's Coach Kelly's first year, so.
What bowl game do you think they'll make?
It sounds like we're playing Purdue in the Citrus Bowl. So it'll be kind of fun, I guess. I like our chances in that one much better than I do on Sunday or Saturday. Yeah.
Joey Molinaro's going to have a tough one with that game.
He sure is. Go Ducks. Wisconsin Wisconsin lost to Minnesota.
It's a microcosm of this season.
And then the next day, Jim Leonard said his dream job was the Wisconsin head coaching job. And Luke Fickell out of Cincinnati has taken the job. So Wisconsin has hired their new coach for hopefully a long time. Because I'm going to be honest, don't care for Wisconsin, don't hate them, don't like them. The Big Ten West is in such dire need of a powerhouse team. And if I had to choose anybody, well, I'm not choosing PJ Fleck. We haven't sworn yet. I don't want to edit it out, but F that guy. But I would say Wisconsin or Nebraska would be or Illinois would be like a really fun powerhouse team of the West. But the 2 teams that had the best chance to do that, in my opinion, are Wisconsin and Nebraska. So we just need somebody that can be come in and just mop up the disgraceful teams in the West and then have a chance to beat Wisconsin or Michigan or Ohio State in the championship game, because Purdue ain't it.
Yeah, as much as I love Jim Leonard, dude is one of my all-time favorite Badgers. It kind of sucks to see it happen, but I don't want anyone to look me in the face and tell me they think he would do a better job as a head coach than Luke Fickell.
The guy put Cincinnati in the top 4. I mean, come on.
And I know,
and even this year they lost a bunch of players and they were still not irrelevant.
No, and I don't know if you saw, but as soon as they announced him coming to Wisconsin, half their defense already entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, it usually works that way.
So I wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 of them ended up at Wisconsin. I don't know what this means for Jim Leonard. I don't know if someone's going to sign him as a head coach elsewhere, if he ends up as a defensive coordinator.
Packers DC.
That's what everyone's wet dream in the state of Wisconsin is right now. But
honestly, it depends on what Luke wants to do, but I don't know. It just seems like certain programs, if you could just stay as a coordinator, it's just kind of like you got it made. If you're the offensive coordinator from Bama, why would you ever leave? And I'm not trying to compare the OC job in Bama to the DC job at Wisconsin, but also at the same time, it seems like there's pretty little pressure that goes with that position.
And he's done
So
a great job. And he's a Wisconsin
yeah,
boy through and through. So
yeah.
we'll see.
So
I like the Luke Fickle hire. I'm excited. I think that will help the recruiting front as well. Not that he's got a laundry list of guys that have gone to the NFL and made a name for themselves, but even just recently, you can point to Sauce Gardner, for example, and say, "Look at this guy that came and played for me, and he's making a case to be Defensive Rookie of the Year now in the NFL."
yeah. So the three biggest jobs in college football have been filled. You had Auburn, which was Hugh Freeze, and given your opinions about Deshaun Watson, I'm sure you're just a big Hugh Freeze fan.
Equally as scummy.
Guy's a phenomenal coach. Can't fault him there, but he is a scumbag of a human. So it's a shame that that's not my team that just did that hire. I mean, like Brian Kelly, I'm like, oh great, here's this boomer coming in, but like at least he's a decent human. So, or by all accounts, he's a decent human. And then you got Wisconsin, which I genuinely did think they were going to go Jim Leonard. So Luke Fickle is taking that job, and then you have Nebraska, which went with Matt Rule. And curious to see what he does there because the first years of his last two head coaching jobs in college were like 2-win seasons or 1-win seasons, and then followed immediately by a 9 or 10-win season. So really curious to see what he does there. And like Baylor, all too, a lot of those players that were on that team were kind of recruits from the Art Briles kind of mess up. So I'm curious to see if he can bring in a class of his own and actually compete.
Yeah, we'll probably have to wait till a year, 2 or 3 before we know for sure.
Yeah, and then the only other kind of big job, Arizona State, it's got filled by the offensive coordinator from Oregon. So, but yeah, we got some championship games this weekend. We have LSU Georgia, picking Georgia. We got Michigan Purdue, picking Michigan. We have USC Utah, picking USC. We have Clemson North Carolina. I'm picking Clemson. And then we have Kansas State TCU, and I really hope TCU wins because if TCU or if TCU or USC loses, then Ohio State probably gets back in. But then they just have to play Georgia, and they're going to get smoked, so it doesn't matter.
Nightmare scenario. TCU and USC lose. Ohio State and Bama both end up in.
I would really, it would be really sloppy to let in a 2-loss Bama, in my opinion.
Who gets in over them?
I think a 1-loss TCU with a quality loss to Kansas State gets in before a 2-loss Bama.
Yeah, but both of Bama's losses would have been last second in 2 of the toughest environments all season
Yeah, but
long.
one of those teams is, I'll go ahead and say it, like LSU's not that great. Like they're pretty good, but they're not like amazing. They had some scrappy wins this year, but I wouldn't say they were dusting people left and right. So
better than Kansas State.
Yeah, but I think TCU worked so hard. I would just give it to him anyways. I mean, that's just the. I don't let it. I mean, I would let in a 2-loss Tennessee, the team that actually beat Bama, in before them,
But
regardless of their QB situation.
As I say, but the committee's going to look at the loss at South Carolina, which was a double-digit loss, even without Hendon Hooker going down, and then not having the quarterback.
Hey, who knows? Spencer Rattler might be a November cheat code. We just don't. We don't know.
Find out.
Guys, back-to-back top 10 wins. I don't know. So, I guess the only other thing I feel the need to touch on before we wrap it up here is Bears-Packers this weekend in Soldier Field. I do owe you a cheese curd bet from the last game. Haven't forgot about that. We have a jersey bet this weekend that I will happily satisfy again this year if a jersey is actually provided for me this year. But yeah, what are your expectations and outcomes from the game?
Well, truthfully, this is the last game that I can probably get really, really excited for just because everything else from here on out is sort of meaningless. The only other game I think I can get more excited for is maybe like playing spoiler to the Vikings at the end of the season and screwing up some sort of playoff seeding. But I don't care if they're both losing teams. Packer Bears is always fun. If I had to predict a score, Green Bay 24, Chicago 21 on a Mason Crosby last-second field goal. I don't know where it cut off, so I will restart. 3, 2, 1. Well, as now officially 2 fans rooting for teams that will finish the season with a losing record, I think it's safe to say this is probably our Super Bowl for the season, or our last Super Bowl for the season, because I don't care what the records are. Packers-Bears is always fun. It'll be a fun week leading up to it, hopefully. And other than the Vikings game at the end of the season when we can maybe play spoiler, this is probably the last game I'll be really, really jazzed about and hopeful for a thumping of sorts. But as long as Justin Fields is healthy, the Bears are going to put up points. And if they follow the recipe like the Eagles did, he'll probably rush for 160 yards again. But I don't think their offense is as good as the Eagles. So I'll say Green Bay 24, Chicago 23, Crosby with the last-second field goal. Of course, if Justin Fields doesn't play, give me the Packers in double digits. But if he does play, it'll be a lot closer.